Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Man Cave. My name is Paul Knapp, and I will be your host for this evening. We have a very special guest for you waiting in the green room. Can't wait to get to him in a little bit. But first, we are talking G.I. Joes tonight, and I'd like to give some channel plugs out there. First to 3D Joes, Mr. Carson over at 3D Joes. Hopefully one day we'll get him on our show as well. Action Figures, Ed. He's been with, who's on? Jeff's show, I guess. So we got to get him on here. And Vintage Toy Rush. Vintage Toy Rush is a British channel, but we're going to talk to him in the near future. Hopefully get him on the channel as well. Some announcements next week. I'm going a little rogue, gentlemen. I'm going rogue. We're not going to do 1/6 scale figures. We're going to go toy soldiers. It's all about toy soldiers next week. So hopefully I won't lose you guys, but we're going to talk a little bit about toy soldiers. You guys all saw my Alamo 1/32 scale. So I got some guys on that want to talk about that. So I'm going to have them on next week. Tonight's special guest, Kirk Bozigian, a.k.a. Law from Law and Order from A Real American Heroes line. He was a product manager at Hasbro from 78 to 96, a professor at Providence College in Rhode Island. His newest adventure is Operation Recall. He's been on various live stream podcasts, and including 3D Joes, Articulated Chad, Special Mission Force, and Angry Mike. But he has no idea what my show is all about. So it's not going to be like those other shows, brother. Let me tell you. Some new subscribers I'd like to say thank you to Dylan Painter, 1998. Thank you, sir. Ms. LeBeau, and Tom Darcy. So, are you ready for some introductions, everybody?
Let's do it.
No.
We have a panel tonight.
Let's do it.
We have a motley crew tonight. Let me tell you.
Woo-hoo.
I'm going to go with the first one that chimed in tonight. Sorry, brother, but you're going to take the hit first.
Oh, man. Here.
Ed.
Port on.
Are you sitting down, Jim? Are you sitting down? All right.
I'm sitting down.
This isn't just any man. He's a real man. He can build things with tools. He can open a pickle jar in one try. Most of the time, he doesn't even wear a shirt. And he can slay a dragon whenever he's called upon. This is Jim Egner.
Howdy do.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in, brother.
I'm glad to be here.
And this gentleman here, hailing from the great state of Nevada and coming to us from the underground secret lair where only a few have entered and none have left. Even Navy SEALs can't find this man. Look out, Sergeant Slaughter, because there's a new kid in town, and they call him Robert DeCastro.
Woo. Hello.
Come on, that was better than last week, wasn't it?
Oh, it was, man. It was.
I told you it takes me a week. Come on. Hey, school teacher, wake up. This New Yorker was raised by wolves till he was 14. And then he was raised by lions till he was 18. He's short, insecure, but good with money. He's a criminal, a vigilante, a public menace, but he's our AOA hero. This is Angelo. Woo! Mr. Deanna Bell in the house. And our last guy to chime in tonight. Where are you, Mike? You're way at the bottom. There you are, brother.
There he is.
Hey. He's known as the Rock, the hard place. Like the wind, he sweeps in and out without anyone knowing. I give to you the seeker of serenity, the protector of virginity, the enforcer of God himself, the one, the only, Mike's DJ Dojo. I always screw up your thing, man. Why'd you put Mike McFly up there? That screwed me up, man.
Yeah, little bit of a tongue twister. Mike's GI Dojo.
I wanted to say Mike McCarthy, and I didn't want to say the real name, and I was like, Mike McFly. When did that come up, man?
That's my other YouTube channel. So,
all right, that threw me for a loop, brother.
Yeah.
Well, we do have Kirk Bozigian in the green room. He looks like he wants to hang up now that he saw the introductions. I'm sure he's not looking forward to his. But before we get started with Kirk, we're going to go around the room real quick. What's new in the zoo? What's new in the zoo with you, brother?
Well, nothing. I'd been kind of sick, so I wasn't even able to go to the to the GI Joe show.
Oh no.
This past weekend.
Yeah, so
Oh.
but I'm all good. Didn't want to chance it and get worse, so
Yeah.
I just kind of chilled out and stuff, and hopefully this week I'll get some stuff done.
Do you have one of those figures you were selling at the Monster thing? The Monster Con? Do you have one on you right now you can show?
Oh,
Or did you
no, that's it's all still packed up. I didn't get to.
Oh, it is. Oh, dang, man. Those are sweet.
I don't have much left from the show.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
It's all good. How about you, Mr. Egner? 3D printing something for us?
Well, I know we don't have a whole lot of time here, so I'll make this quick. I've been working on this is that Recon trailer. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna fly at the next show.
Yeah, that's been a pain in the butt. Anybody recognize these pieces?
Yeah, from the Avenger Pursuit Craft.
Yeah.
Yep.
And one of these.
Yep.
So that-
the Jeep.
Tailgate.
Tailgate, yeah.
Yeah, and the last one. Oh, I promise not to bore you.
No.
Yeah,
From the copter.
Turbocopter.
Turbocopter. Yeah.
Yeah, propeller.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other junk back there, but I'll leave that alone. So that's
Awesome.
it. Just
It's
get ready.
good, man. That's a lot.
It is.
Yeah. Are you taking that all to the show?
Yeah,
Are you having people place orders, or are you like doing?
I'm just gonna take a bunch of stuff with me and see what happens.
Okay, but you still have the Etsy store. They can find you there, right?
Oh yeah, I still have the Etsy store up, and all my stuff you can order at the show online, so it'd be good to go either way. So
Right on. Who we got up? Angelo, what you got for us, bro?
Hey, did you put the chat on?
I did not put the chat on yet. I was waiting.
You were
I was
waiting.
letting you guys all do your intros, but
Okay. All right. I didn't know if you did that beforehand.
nope, I will do it now.
All right. So,
Gotcha.
what's new in the zoo for me? Well, it's report card season. So I got to finish up some report cards. School ends. We only got about a week and a half left of school. So I've been busy with that. A lot of activities going on at school. But in the meantime, I'm also trying to incorporate some of my 1/6 scale things, getting ready for the Joe Lana show. I'm actually going to try to get a bound book for one of my comic sets, and it's going to be the Feathered Serpent set with the dinosaurs. Instead of me actually taking the time, stapling them all together, making my own cover, and making the jig to put it in and folding it and gluing it and all that, which takes a long time, I'm actually going to have it shipped out and made into a booklet. It's going to cost me a little bit more. I'll have to charge a little bit more, but I think seeing it more professionally done, hopefully that'll take off and be a little bit better. In addition to that, I took Sergeant Soldier's advice. He said that I should try to use a QR code and put a QR code on one of the pages of my comics so that the QR code would then go to my YouTube channel. So I'm trying to take some of the things I did from my comic with the Feathered Serpent with the dinosaurs and have it more of an interactive, maybe stop motion animation, messing around with some AR type stuff, so that when you click on the QR code, it will go to my YouTube channel and it will actually go to a scene that was not included in the comic, but also has to do with the dinosaurs and that specific comic. So that's what's going on here.
Super, man.
Mike, he just took up all your time, so you can't. Say anything.
Sorry, man. You knew that. You knew that was going to happen.
I do have the chats on. I'm sorry. Largo's Lair's here. Filmaholic is with us. Tim Coop. Sorry.
I was just being mesmerized by Angelo's background.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, and what I have new, I just picked up Bone Collector and Condor from Valiverse Series 1 of Action Force, the reissues. And I just put a new video up showing the Joe Fest reveals for Valiverse, and they have some like amazing stuff. It's like I'm not a completionist with that line, but almost everything they revealed I want to get. It's crazy. So that's 1/12 scale stuff though.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're in the 1/12 scale, yeah.
Yeah. In the 1/6, that's the only 1/12 I collect. But anyway, I'm amazed we have such a legend here with us tonight.
I know, man.
Hear him talk.
And the longer I keep him in the green room, the more pissed off he's getting. I can see. So I don't want to do it too long here. So, hey, my one question you guys tonight, and it's got to be rapid fire, quick. If you could be a real American hero figure, let's say I don't know, a guy like this, who would you be?
Oh shoot.
I know none of us really collected that. We're a little bit
No,
older.
Surely,
You know, from the cartoons. I mean, you know enough from the cartoons.
well, my pick isn't actually a hero though, because I wanted to be like Firefly.
Yeah.
Firefly.
It's
Yes.
Firefly, yeah.
That's great. That's a great one.
Yep.
Jim Egner, you got anybody from a real American hero?
surely. Am I breaking up? Surely.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Ange?
I would, you know what, Gun Ho. I always liked Gun Ho, the Marine.
Yeah.
I thought he was definitely a cool character. Snake Eyes would be great, but damn it, I wouldn't be able to talk, and I would always be going after Scarlet, but I would never get Scarlet because kind of Duke was in the way. Then I'd have to get rid of Duke in order to have Scarlet. But I don't know. The dynamics there just makes me crazy. But then I think he had a thing for Storm Shadow, but was his, well, I ain't gonna go there. So you guys, I don't know. I guess Gun Ho.
Again, Mike, he took all your time, but if you want to say something.
Yeah. The Cobra Interrogator to me is the coolest figure, and he's kind of has a faceless guy with a helmet, so I can envision myself being in that uniform.
Filmaholic said Beachhead.
Yeah.
Beachhead's a good one.
figure too.
Another one for me would be Low Light.
Low Light?
Low Light.
Yeah. So the reason I asked that is because we have this gentleman on the show tonight. I had to borrow this from my buddy because I didn't collect 3 3/4. So I'm going to bring this gentleman on, and he needs no introduction, but I'm going to make up one for him anyway.
You better make this super
Be
good.
careful,
dude. Please take this with a grain of salt, sir. This man, he comes to us from New England, but please do not call him a masshole. Standing 6'2" and weighing 220 pounds, he received a full scholarship to Providence College in Rhode Island, where he played fullback and graduated first in his class in 1973. He then attended Syracuse University, where he was asked to play football again for another year, but he refused because he didn't want to break Jim Brown's records, because that's the kind of guy he is. From there, he went on a 4-year pilgrimage around the world just to discover the meaning of life. He then returned to Rhode Island and for 18 years dedicated his life to the Hasbro Toy Company, where he worked in marketing, R&D, engineering, and from time to time, he swept the floors and took out the trash. But most importantly, he has his own action figure. After leaving Hasbro in 1994, he worked as a professor at his alma mater, Providence College, shaping the minds of future leaders. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Kirk Bozigian.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Sorry about that, sir.
Only some of that was true.
Well, I was going to say that there's half truths in there, right? There's a lot of half truths.
Maybe an eighth of a truth. I'd like to have played football.
I was going to ask you, does Providence have a football team?
No, they don't.
3/4 inch truth.
And I wish I was 6'2".
Well, again, honor and privilege to have you on the show, sir. And my first question before all these guys get to you is, how do you know that guy in the top right corner that hooked us up? 'Cause I want to know.
Robert and I go way back. Robert, he can fill it in better, but as I recall, Don Levine and I were working on our own action figure line called Real Heroes, and we were doing a high-end collectible firefighter and police. We had the FDNY license and the NYPD license, and we were striving for super detailed realism, super detail in everything we did, from the uniforms, the fabric uniforms, to the accessories. Robert, I think, had contacted Don because he knew that of Don's reputation, and Robert was trying to, I think, he is a fantastic customizer, and he sent us a couple of his custom figures, and they blew us away with the level of quality and detail. And then we discovered that he sews patterns, is an illustrator, was a sculptor, so to speak, and that we hired him to do all the prototype work for us that would eventually get turned into reality in the Far East. So that's how I know Robert.
Very cool. Very cool.
I'll tell you,
Rob, you can fill in the blanks, Rob.
yeah. Now it's the way I got contact with them was I was doing a custom figure for a client, and he was showing it at a show, and they saw it, and they wanted to know who did it. So that's how uh, I was told to contact them, because they would be interested in my work, and pretty much is the way Kirk said it. I tell you, you said, Paul, when you said that he was 6 foot whatever, and Kirk was he wished he was that tall. When I met these guys, they were more like 7 feet tall. Because they were my heroes.
Sure, absolutely, man.
Yeah, because when I was, if you'd have told me when I was a kid that I would get to work with the people that made my most favorite toy, you would not make me believe it in a million years. But I was there, and it was a big, huge honor. Yeah, because even when I was doing it, I couldn't believe I was doing it.
But you didn't live in Rhode Island at the time, right? You were
No, I was in Maryland.
Oh, okay.
I was in Maryland. So yeah, I picked them up, and we had a little meeting at our house, and having legends like that in your own home was
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, dream come true. Yeah.
All right, guys. Before I start with my list of questions, go around the room. Anybody? Jim, go first.
I'm a bit awe-inspired, actually. I did have a question for you, though, Kirk. Were you involved with the Masterpiece Edition and the Timeless?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Masterpiece Edition was I call myself the product manager on it. That was a project that Don and who's the author?
John Micklick.
John Micklick. I should have remembered that. John's a great guy. They were working on that project together. I was still at Hasbro, and Don approached me to work freelance on that to help guide the process of contacting Far East, following the milestones for all the product development of the figure, etc. And that association and the work I did with on that project led Don to, when I eventually did leave Hasbro to start out on my own as an independent consultant and inventor. That gave Don the impetus, I guess, to approach me to ask if I'd like to be a partner with him. And so that led to a long association of myself with Don for like the next 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Could I piggyback onto that question? In regards to the Masterpiece, I always heard, I don't know if this was a made up story or what, was there supposed to be an adventure team addition to that Masterpiece? Was it supposed to originally have been fuzzy hair adventure team figure?
No, not originally.
No.
I mean, if there was a follow up to the book series, yes, probably that would have been John Micklick's. He was the genius behind that whole project. But no, as far as I knew, we were working on the just the four basic characters.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Because I heard like someone said, "Oh, it's because something happened with the flocking," and then it was like,
yeah, no,
all right. Thank you.
Not to my knowledge. Again, I was still at Hasbro. This was a freelance project that I was working on. Don had the license, so it was not anything that where I was in conflict with my job at Hasbro. But because Don had the official license and all that, But he and John Micklick were really the brains behind it all. All I was doing was handling the product development.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mhm, mhm.
Mike, your turn. You got anything?
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to compliment you on your boxed GI Joe armor bot, Star Brigade armor bot there behind you. Yeah, and
Thank you.
I just kind of thought of this off the top of my head. Was there any plans for there to be like a Star Brigade cartoon that were in the works, maybe in '94, that we've never heard of?
No,
No.
no. We were lucky enough to have just the basic Joe team on animation by 94. So no, I mean eventually there probably may have been, had the series continued. There probably would have been maybe a 1, 2, or 3 episode sub segment of the cartoon series, but no, there was no real plan to do a separate Star Brigade miniseries or series.
I got one more for you. As far as Sergeant Savage and the pilot that came on tape with the figure, was there any particular reason that never got expanded or got picked up for TV or anything?
We were acquired by Kenner.
Exactly. Okay.
Everyone thinks we acquired Kenner. In reality, Kenner acquired us. And
Oh wow!
by 1990, well, I mean, I say that facetiously. One of my friends at Hasbro at the time said that when we acquired Kenner, we thought we were buying a poodle, and instead we ended up with a pit bull.
Because the important thing was Star Wars at the time, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And so all the efforts went to in Boys Toys went to Star Wars. They eventually took over all of Boys Toys. That's why Sergeant Savage was dropped and replaced by GI Joe Extreme. So we saw how well that did. So that's the answer to that question.
Thank you.
Kirk, when I was researching you the past 3 weeks, I just let you know there's a lot of shit on you out there, by the way.
There's a lot of what?
There's a lot of shit on you on the internet about you. Everybody was saying, "Oh, he's the guy from the Netflix." They kept saying he's the guy from the Netflix special. I was like, "No, man, he's the guy from this documentary."
Yep.
Because that's when I first knew about you and heard about you. Was there anything prior to that, DVD wise or video wise?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah, because that had everybody in it. I mean, the first 2002.
Are you talking about the toys that made us Netflix?
Yeah, I mean that's the Netflix. That's the most recent thing that he's been on, I think.
Yeah, those were great episodes.
Most recent thing is the History Channel, the Toys That Built America.
Toys That Built America. Yeah.
Yeah, that's on the History Channel, and that's the most recent. That's about 2 years, maybe 3 years old now. But yeah, that's.
I thought it was the Netflix ones.
Well, Netflix was first. Netflix is I have the most visibility on Netflix.
Yeah,
but
I love
the
those.
History Channel did a series called The Toys That Built America, and the first season was Barbie, GI Joe, Hot Wheels Year One, maybe Hot Wheels. So it was a pretty interesting series of on the History Channel as well.
Yeah.
If people are out there and want to chat in and ask some questions, just go ahead and do so. Anybody else? Because I got a whole bunch here to ask.
Yeah, let's get into it, man.
Paul, go ahead, and then we'll jump in based on what you're asking.
So when you graduated college and got your degree, that in-between time there, were you really thinking, like, I really want to work at Hasbro, or was it just like applying for another job at the time? I mean, was it like one of those, I mean, everybody wants to work for a toy company like us, but I mean, was it really just something you applied for in the newspaper and said, hey, there's a marketing job open, and you took it? Or
that's pretty much it. I had a degree in advertising, and I was working at a company that makes plumbing and heating supplies. It was a business-to-business company, and I was the advertising manager, having a lot of fun working there. But about 2 years into that job, happened to see an ad in the local newspaper that Hasbro was looking for a copywriter, and And so what I did was I applied, and 3 weeks later I was hired and working at Hasbro. Uh, Hasbro was one of, when I got out of school, if I couldn't get to work at an ad agency in New York, there were two companies I thought would be great to work for because I have interest in both. One was Black & Decker Tools, and the other was Hasbro Toys. And so I got to live my dream with Hasbro Toys.
Amazing.
Very cool.
Awesome stuff. Now, like there was a thing that me and Paul was just about to talk about, like how, like, your earliest stint with Hasbro, how much control did you have in regards to the Super Joe series back in the 70s?
I had none.
Okay, so
When
that was
when I joined Hasbro, Super Joe was on its way out. I joined
okay.
Hasbro in July of 1978. 1978 was the last year for Super Joe.
That's what I thought.
My very first project, however, when I joined Hasbro, was to work on the packaging copy for Terran, the Beast
Yeah.
from Beyond, which was GI
Okay.
Joe, Super Joe's
Yep.
ultimate enemy. So
Mhm.
I worked on the package copy for that and the instructions for
Oh,
that
Oh,
toy. And then the line was canceled that fall. I mean, it never survived that Christmas of '78, and that was the last of GI Joe.
So from 78 until 82, when the 3 3/4 inch Real American Heroes
Mhm.
came out, what was happening during that time, that transition time where they went from a 12-inch down to the 8-inch, and now how did that come about, and how were you
Okay,
involved in
well,
that?
uh, I along with me being hired in '78, the entire marketing department had been changed. The entire marketing department had been turned over to some people who were recruited from Ideal Toys, which was one of our major competitors,
mm.
and a gentleman by the name of Bob Prupus, who was a former retail toy buyer for a chain of retail stores called Two Guys, which was a chain in the Middle Atlantic states. This would be a store kind of like a Target, okay? But they had a huge toy department, and Bob was the buyer for the toy department and bought boys' toys. Bob joined the company in '78. By '79, Bob was pressing to bring back GI Joe because he had had such success as a retail toy buyer buying 12-inch GI Joe. And he approached me about putting together a presentation to take to Sears, which was the largest toy retailer at the time, to take the 12-inch GI Joe to Sears and represent it as the original 12-inch Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, not Action Force or whatever adventure team. None
Mhm.
they He wanted to present it the original military version. So he and I cooked up a presentation. He went to Sears, and at the time, the buyers at Sears said, "GI Joe's been off the marketplace for 3 years, uh, actually four, because they didn't even count Super Joe as a line."
Uh-huh.
Um, as part of GI Joe, and they said it's too soon to bring GI Joe back. So Bob
huh.
came back, said, we're going to keep working on this, and we're going to find a way to do it. But other things got in the way, and it wasn't until 1980, about a year later, that the impetus for bringing back a GI Joe came about. I always cite the story of Bob happened to be at a brunch in Boston when the American hockey team, uh,
Mhm.
you know, won
Won
the
the
Olympics,
yep.
and
The
people
Olympics.
Mhm.
people were yelling USA, USA,
That's
USA.
right.
Bob came into the office on Monday morning, and first thing he did was call me into his office. By now, I was working directly for Bob as a product manager on, of all things, girls' toys. And he called me into the office and he said, "Get the R&D team together. We're going to figure out a way to put GI Joe back on in our product line." So we brought together at the time a very small R&D department. We brought the guys working on boys' toys together, and we said that we need to figure out a way to bring back GI Joe. And at the time, the action figure business had changed completely, from 12-inch toys down to 4-inch scale Star Wars figures.
Yeah.
And so we said that's what we're going to go after. That's the business has changed. We're going to go after that market, and we put together the 3 3/4-inch line. We presented it to management, and it was turned down by management in '80.
Yeah.
It was turned twice, and it was turned down one more time in '81. Bob never gave up, and management said at the time the president of the company, Stephen Hassenfeld, said, "I don't ever want to see this again. We're done. We're not doing GI Joe again." And he basically said, and then Bob met with him after the meeting, because Bob never took no for an answer. To Bob, no simply meant maybe.
Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
he met with Stephen, and Stephen said, "Look, you've got 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks to convince
Give the
me and
pitch.
the management team that you have a legitimate way to bring back GI Joe."
Yeah.
So we called in our ad agency, had a brainstorming meeting. At the brainstorming meeting, our biggest problem we discovered was, unlike Star Wars, who had a $30 million movie, we had no way of telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
GI Joe needed a story to get it into the marketplace. So we had no way of telling that story. So I threw out 2 ideas. One was baseball trading cards. And if we printed on the back of every package a baseball trading card for who the character was, that would help tell a story. But that was not enough. I mean,
Yeah.
deep down, I knew that was never going to be enough. And then I happened to say, I'm a big comic book collector. I still collect comic books, but I was a big fan at the time of Sergeant Fury and Sergeant Rock, all of the DC military comics. So I just threw out the idea. I said, look, I know Marvel licenses their comic books to other companies to create custom comics. I also know that they license in comics from different properties. So I
Yeah.
said, what if we had a comic book? Next thing I know, 2 days later, Griffin Bacall, our ad agency, had set up a meeting with Marvel Comics in New York, and we approached them with the idea. But the real sweetener to the whole deal was, we didn't just want them to do a comic book. We promised we would spend $1 million advertising the comic book,
Yeah.
and that was a
Yes.
deal Marvel just couldn't turn down. And later on, just quite recently, as a matter of fact, maybe last summer, I was reading a history of comic books, and little did I know, but in 1981, Marvel Comics and DC Comics were almost bankrupt.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
And what revitalized the entire comic book business was that $1 million ad campaign for GI Joe. GI Joe quickly became Marvel's top title. I'm not
Wow.
going to say it was the #1 title, but it was probably
Yeah.
2 or 3, right
Wow.
behind Spider-Man and maybe Fantastic Four.
Wow.
That's the impact our
Yeah.
advertising had on the comic book industry.
G.I. Joe saved Marvel.
Yeah,
Yeah, really.
well,
Yeah.
save the industry. I'll
Yeah.
go be that bold and make that claim.
Yeah.
And what we then did was, what was going to the GI Joe #1 was going to be a one shot. That was it, a one shot. It was
Oh, really?
yeah, it was printed on high quality paper, almost like a magazine quality paper. It was slightly
Okay.
larger than your traditional comic book. It was thicker than your traditional comic book. Yeah, there you go.
There you
And
go.
so
Yes.
it was going to be the one shot. Once we turned the advertising on, and Marvel, it was, I forget how many printings that first issue went through. I'm going to say possibly 3, maybe as many as 5 reprints for that one comic. Marvel
Uh-huh.
came back to us like within days, saying we want to sign a license to create a series of GI Joe comics.
Wow.
And then every quarter, we ran a 30-second commercial advertising the GI Joe comic book, which sparked interest in the brand immediately. And then that led, the animated comic book gave Griffin Bacall, because they were 2 very smart guys, Joe Bacall and Tom Griffin. they knew in the back of their mind maybe there's a possibility of turning this property into an animated series. So they used all the animation that they had been doing for our commercials, put together a sales reel, and were able to sell the 5-part miniseries, which eventually led to the daily adventures of
Yeah.
G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
So that's like a quick synopsis of how
Yeah.
all of this happened.
And in a way, too, it seems like the Marvel and Hasbro kind of developed the line hand in hand, because from what I heard, there was no Cobra before,
No,
right? So
right.
they came back to you guys saying, "Hey, who's the bad guys?"
Yep.
And
And
so you
we
left.
always thought, in our naivete, we always thought the bad guys were all the other action figures.
You're right.
Okay, and that you didn't need to make bad guys.
Right.
Um, Marvel after that first meeting, and it was the genius of Larry. Larry Hama was was one of the geniuses. Larry made the comment at the meeting. Well, what are these guys supposed to do? Just march around on the parade grounds all day? That's what they do. They need somebody to fight, and it was Archie Goodwin, one of the editors at the time, that coined the term Cobra, the enemy, and that got fed back to us by Bob. I happened to be in the R&D office, waiting to hear from him the results of the meeting. And when he told us that, Ron Rudat, our key designer, figure designer, immediately started doing drawings for Cobra the Enemy, came up with the iconic Cobra logo, all of that. That all happened within like 3 or 4 days. That's how quickly we were developing this brand.
Which was good because it expanded the line so much.
Oh yeah, and in fact, many of the best characters and vehicles are the Cobra.
The Rattler
vehicles and
was
figures.
my favorite.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
his
hands
tank.
down.
Yep.
Now I'm going to jump in again.
Go for it.
Sorry. The first nine figures. Okay. They didn't really have, I want to know about the connection between the comic book and the figure and vehicle creation. Did the vehicle and figures come first and then the story evolved based on what was produced, or, how did that happen?
We had total creative control of the G.I. Joe product line. We and Hasbro Pawtucket created all the characters, all the vehicles. What Larry Hama did was inject life into them by writing or developing the backstories for each of the characters. The way it worked was we would meet with Larry at the beginning of every year and outline for him who the characters were, what they looked like, and let's go back to those first 9, right? Those 9 designs were all done prior to the Marvel meeting. We then gave Larry those designs, and he came up with the bio cards for those characters. My job, he wrote so much that it had to be edited down to fit on the back of the package. So I always claim I was Larry's editor.
Right?
Okay, so I would take his personality profiles and his backstory and edit it down so it would fit on the back of a card. But every year we'd bring Larry up to Hasbro, or we would go down to Marvel's offices. We'd show them our characters and our vehicle designs, and Larry would weave a backstory after seeing everything. They talk about the Marvel method of writing comic books. Subconsciously, we were working the Marvel method, developing our toys. We came up with the visuals, and then Larry supplied the words.
Exactly.
After seeing the visuals.
Hey,
Exactly.
There's the last thing, and then you guys can take it. I know I'm monopolizing because I really love this stuff.
Go for it.
One of my favorite memories, one of my all-time favorite memories was KB Toy and Hobby, and I had just purchased one of the G.I. Joe comics, and it had the front cover with Snow Job on the Snowcat with Doc on the back, and it was such an awesome cover. And the first thing I did after reading that comic, I begged my parents to go to the mall, Mohawk Mall. I lived in Rotterdam and Schenectady in New York. So we went and I was hoping and hoping and hoping to find something on the shelf. And sure enough, there was the snowcat, and there was the polar bear. That was a polar bear snowmobile, and there was Snow Job with his skis, and wow, it was just like as a kid seeing that comic come to life with those figures. I had to have them, and then recreated what you guys had developed, and it was an amazing
Well,
thing to do.
eventually, and it happened really quickly, and really it happened the second year. We eventually worked with Larry to plan out when we would be releasing certain vehicles. Now the figures came as well. The figures were released at different times throughout the year, and we try to work that out as well. And Larry's genius was recognized. He had enough marketing genius as well as creative artistic genius and writing ability. He understood the business side of things as well. He would find ways of trying to incorporate characters and vehicles in the comic book as close to the release date of those characters and vehicles as possible.
Smart. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it was such a synergy between all of us working together that it was a real magical way of marketing.
Perfect storm.
Yes.
Yep.
Mhm.
Kirk, we do have some questions from people chatting in.
Sure.
Filmaholic, our buddy Greg asked, would you have done anything different with your time with the GI Joes?
Yes. And that's an easy question to kind of answer. I towards the end, and we didn't know it was the end, but by 92, 3, and 4, the action figure marketplace was changing again. We saw the introduction of McFarlane's Spawn figures.
Uh-huh.
I was blown away by the detail, the sculptural
Mhm.
detail, etc. And I tried to get our R&D and engineering team on board to improve the quality of our sculpting, the quality of our characters, the posability. And it's awful difficult to get people to make changes when the formula seems to still work.
Right.
So because
Right.
the formula was working, it was difficult for me to motivate people to make changes. The other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to stop molding our figures in high gloss styrene plastic. I
Uh-huh.
wanted us to vapor blast the molds and have the uniforms be dull, so that the
Mhm.
figures would look more realistic. The
Mhm.
uniforms would look more realistic. There's actually a way of blasting the mold with what's called mold tech, which is like an overall pattern on the steel that makes the tools. And I even coined the term fabric tech,
Mhm.
so that the uniforms would all have almost a slight texture to them, so they
Yeah.
would look like fabric.
Yeah.
And to get people to motivate people and get them to move off the dime was so tough, so difficult, because we were also developing things so fast
Yeah.
that once you had a formula that worked,
They want to stick
it
to it.
was inertia. Nobody wanted to make changes.
Yeah.
And by 94, 95, actually, we were off the brand. So that's my biggest regret, not being able to make those changes.
We got
Yeah.
another question from a friend of mine, Bono. He asked, will Transformers GI Joe possible crossover movie resurge GI Joe?
Since I don't have anything to do with Hasbro anymore, I don't care. To be quite honest, I don't care.
You don't want to see another one of these coming out? No.
I'd rather see the Operation Recall stuff, to be honest with you.
Thank you. There you go. Let's
Yeah,
talk
I wanna see
Operation
that.
Recall.
I saw a video from 3D Joe's just this past weekend at the con, and I saw your red marks on the changes, man.
Oh, okay.
You go crazy on the red pen, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I love it. That's
Oh,
what I used to do
yeah,
all
yeah.
the time. The designers
Hey.
hated me for it.
Hey,
No,
but you know,
Operation Recall is the brainchild of call him GI Joe collector extraordinaire Carson Metaxas. And Carson's brainchild was, he remembers as a kid writing to Hasbro with a figure design, and we rejected the figure design for legal reasons. I mean, you can't accept those kind of things.
Exactly.
So, many years later, he has the brainchild to come up with creating, a character he called Rotello, who was a radio telecommunications
Yep.
officer. And he and I worked on that, putting that prototype in his very first, I guess, Kickstarter offer. And then the success of that led to him reaching out to collectors saying, hey, here's your opportunity to have your G.I. Joe figure design come to life. So he, myself, Ron Rudat, and Mark Pennington, one of the other original G.I. Joe figure designers, we met up here in close by in Massachusetts at a Holiday Inn, and we reviewed a bunch of, I think it was well over 100 different character designs, and we selected what we think are the strongest.
Right.
And that's what this new Operation Recall is going to represent.
Right. Well, for those people that don't know, could you explain like what exactly is Operation Recall?
Well, Operation Recall is a recreation of the 3 3/4 inch line of action figures, um, full posability. They'll fit in with the GI Joe world, but they're figures that are from the imagination of GI Joe fans. And all we did was take their imaginative designs, add our own spin to it. Myself, Ron, and Mark, along with Carson, we added our own spin to each of the characters to make them a little more toyetic, a little more viable as toys. And that's what's being made right now. It's part of a Kickstarter program that was fully funded within days,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
rolling along right now. So beyond that, I don't have much more to say. I mean, everyone should check out 3D Joe's or uh, you know Carson Metaxas for more information. I've stayed
Yeah.
away from the business side of things. I've just
Oh.
helped with the creative side.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, the creative director now.
Kirk, I sent you a
Yeah,
list of questions this past week. Did you get a chance to look at some of those?
sure, I did.
I know
And
you
right
like to
here.
talk about the 3 3/4 line, but I wanted to ask you some other personal
No, no, go
questions if
ahead.
that's okay.
I'll answer. I'll answer whatever you
All right, all
do
right.
that.
What is your best memory, your childhood memory of? I know you had 1964 GI Joes, right? 12-inch.
Yeah, I guess the best memory for me now. Remember, I was about 12 years old when I first encountered GI Joe. And when you're 12 years old, you're kind of starting to get out of toys. I was starting to really concentrate on a couple of things: comic books, but also I'm a huge model airplane builder. I still build model airplanes. And so that was really what I was really interested in. But one Saturday, my mom would always take us down to the city to do shopping. She loved to clothes shop, and she let my sister and I roam around the toy departments of the different five and dimes or department stores. I remember being in Woolworths, walking around the corner from where the model kits were, and I know I had an Airfix model kit in my hand because they were the hottest new 1/72nd scale. That was the hottest thing at the time. And I walk around a corner, and there, in on all the shelves, uh, was GI Joe. And the shoebox, GI Joe figures, a bunch of accessory uniforms, and also the GI Joe comic book. The DC Comics did 2 issues of a GI Joe comic book, and there they were. So I put the Airfix model kit down because my mother would always let us buy something. So I put that model kit down, and I picked up a GI Joe uh, soldier, and I picked up the comic book, and my mother let me buy them both.
That's cool.
And yeah,
Awesome.
that's my memory. That's the sweetest memory of that I have. And I know, my mom didn't have a lot of money, but she always treated us to something. And I know that week, my sister got screwed because she probably got some 10-cent little ring out of the tube, so that my mother could afford to buy me the comic book and the and the toy and the action figure. But that's how what my mother was like. So
This kind of
and then
leads
when,
into that too.
when I brought them home, I'm sure my father said, "What the hell are you doing with the toy?" You know.
Oh.
This kind of leads into that as well. Did you have a favorite toy growing up? Was it that GI Joe, or did you have something prior to that?
Well, again, I could say it was that toy, but I would only be telling you a half truth because, my big toy years were probably from the time I was, that I can recall now, were the times I was maybe 5 to 10 years old. And so for me, big toys then were, uh, for me and my cousin, um, bags of Green Army Men,
Oh yeah,
and
Mark's toys.
so many different companies made those bags of Green Army Men that he'd have his bags, I'd have mine, and when we'd get together, we'd swap and trade them because
Yeah,
they were all different.
same here.
So that was huge. And then I guess, like I say, I was a big model kit builder. When I was 10, I recall building a model tank, a motorized tank from Ideal Toy Company. They had a model kit division called ITC, and it was a tank called Battling Betsy. And I put this thing together all by myself, motorized. It was I think it's like a 1/32nd scale. It's a little different than 1/35th. No, maybe excuse me, it's probably 1/48 scale because it was slightly bigger.
Bigger.
And it was quite a quote toy, model kit and toy, because it would have it climbing over books. The turret moved back and forth, and it actually shot tiny little bullets out of the cannon.
Oh
Which
wow!
once you shot them, they were gone. I mean, forget
Right.
it. Mom would vacuum them up.
They wouldn't make that today.
No, I was gonna
No,
say child
no.
safety.
But I happen to have my original kit still. It's all pretty much shot, but it's in a box. And I bought a built up kit on eBay a couple of years ago that I
Oh,
have. So,
cool.
I
That's
got to
What-
ask you
what-
this last one before you go.
yep,
Who was your childhood hero?
childhood hero. I had two heroes. Ted Williams in baseball.
Yep.
Okay, even though I never really got to see him play because but I would, because they didn't broadcast games the way they do these days. But I would listen to him on the radio with my dad. We'd watch him on Friday and Saturday because they would broadcast the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday games. So I would watch him then. But again, I was rather young, but I would follow his stats in the newspapers. So Ted Williams was one, and my next hero would be John Glenn.
John
Um,
Glenn.
John Glenn would be my next hero
Glenn.
because I wanted to become an astronaut. I
And I-
followed all those Mercury flights from Alan Shepard to Gus Grissom to Gordon Cooper, and so I could say all the Mercury astronauts would be my
Yeah.
role models as well, or heroes.
And
Those guys-
Hasbro made 12-inch figures of both of those.
Yes.
Yeah,
they did.
eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
The John Glenn figure was an idea that Don Levine and I came up with and approached Hasbro, and they licensed from us with Life magazine.
Yep.
Wow. Very cool.
Amazing stuff.
Ask
got
away,
one.
gentlemen. We got them for 5 more minutes.
I got one.
Mike, yeah, yeah. Go for it,
Yeah.
Mike.
So was there ever any plans to resurrect the GI nurse, the action girl nurse for the Masterpiece collection, or was that body ever reused for anything in the 80s, like Maxi or Gem that you know of?
Not that I know of, no. And no, as far as I know, there were never any plans because I'll say this again for the 100th time: boys do not buy girls.
That's
Okay.
true. Very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
very
So
true.
we're all adults right now, and we go
Yeah.
and we collect everything, and we love to collect those female
The
figures.
kids. Mm-hmm.
But the kids,
Kids
those are
won't
the
do it.
last things the boys buy. And
Yeah.
I don't understand why people don't get that through their head. And I'm talking to Hasbro right now. I don't understand why they don't get that through their head. And
Yeah.
that's why all the peg warmers are always the female
girls.
figures.
Girl
Mhm.
figures.
Okay, we did them because they were part of the comic cartoon show.
Mhm.
And we knew, little girls were watching the show with their brothers, so we did them. But in every 24 case pack of figures, 2 or at the most 4 out of those 24 would be the females.
So Scarlet wasn't doing very well when it came out.
Scarlet was. We weren't even going to make Scarlet.
Really?
Oh.
No
Wow.
way. No way. We weren't even going to make Scarlet. The reason she got in the line was because she was in the TV series. Okay, or
Uh-huh.
not necessarily the TV series. Again, the genius of Tom and Joe were thinking ahead, and they said, if we're going to have a TV series, we have to appeal to little girls as well as boys. So we're going to need some real heroes for the little girls. So we rounded out the adventure year 1 by introducing Scarlet. But in actuality, we were going to put her 1 to a case pack. And at that time, year 1, the case pack was 48 pieces. She
Yeah.
was
Wow.
1 out of 48.
She would
When
be
everything else was
worth a
weighted 6
fortune
pieces.
today.
Okay? But our factory said, we can't give you 1. We can't do 1. It doesn't work
Right.
for us. So we
Exactly.
had to increase and add 2 to a case pack. But that was the original case pack for Scarlet, was 2.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
But
I got another 3
Robert, wait,
3/4 inch
think
question
about it,
for you.
Robert. You're an 8-year-old boy.
exactly.
Mom gives you $2 to go
Yeah.
buy
What are you going to
a
spend it on?
JoJo figure.
The
What are you
last
going to
one would
buy?
be
Snake Eyes or Scarlet?
Yeah.
yeah.
Jack or Scarlet?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Grunt or Scarlet? Right?
Exactly.
Kirk, I gotta ask one more question in 3 3/4 inch. Hawk.
Yeah.
Hawk. Okay. Hawk, when he first came out, was blonde. And he was not had anything to do with leadership. Is that correct? Do you
I don't-
remember? Because then Hawk became General
Right.
Hawk later on, and he ended up with brown hair, and he had a totally different. It was almost like a different character, and I was just wondering how that transformation occurred or took part. What happened with the Hawk when he? That was I thought Hawk was one of the original 9. I believe he came with What did he come with? I think he came with one of the weapons, one of the towable
Yeah.
military.
Honestly, I don't know. I honestly can't answer that question. I don't know.
Yeah. He
how
came with
that
the rocket launcher or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hawk came with something, and he was blonde
Uh-huh.
hair, and he looked just like a generic. He had the same uniform,
Oh,
like
okay.
Clutch,
I
like
can
Grunt.
help explain that. Again, year 1, okay, when that MMS missile system was introduced, year 1, we only had the ability or the time and money to sculpt, I think, 4 different heads,
Mm.
and all 4 of those heads were spread out amongst all those first year figures, or maybe it might have been only been 3 heads. I think it might have been 3 heads, and then Snake Eyes was the 4th head that we sculpted. So eventually, when the line took off, we were able to go back in and give each character its own individually sculpted head. So that might help explain why the look was different eventually.
Okay.
Best answer I can dream up right now.
Right? Yeah, I just always wondered that because he came with the missile set. He was blonde hair, and then he became General Hawk, and he appeared in a comic as General.
Well, you
And
did
I'm like,
such a
whoa,
good
how did
job
this
on a
happen?
special ops mission that you got a promotion.
There he is.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's
there
what
you
it
go.
was.
That's how it works in the
And-
real military.
And then he went and got his hair done.
Exactly. Well, we did that for the variant version.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey guys, I can only afford Kirk up until 9 o'clock, and it's 9 o'clock right now, so
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
pay him overtime.
I
I know he said he got to go.
yeah, I have to leave at 9, but it's a pleasure, and I always like
been an
doing these
honor,
things,
sir.
so,
Dude, it's an
it's
honor.
We
for
really
me to-
appreciate it.
It's an honor for me to be on with you guys and all the fans out there. I'm seeing all these questions. We can do this again some other time. I love doing this. We can set it up for another time and fire away at even
That
more
would be
questions.
awesome.
Paul.
That'd be awesome, man.
Great.
Awesome.
Definitely have more questions.
Well, we're still gonna play our game tonight, even though you're leaving, sir. And the game, I know
Okay.
you're gonna be bumming though, because the game tonight is Rhode Island quiz, everything about Rhode Island. So
Oh, good luck.
you would probably know every answer being from Rhode Island. So I just
All right. Well, I got to head out, guys. But anyway, thanks for everything.
Thank you,
Great
sir.
meeting all of you.
Nice
to
seeing you
everybody
again, Kirk.
sending in questions. Take care, and yo, Joe.
go,
Yo, Joe.
Yo, Joe.
All right. See you, Kirk. Great guy,
Awesome,
man.
That was
Love
awesome.
him.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, sorry guys. I got a little carried
It was all
away.
good,
It
man.
kinda
Hey,
happened.
Robert, the check's in the mail for you too, Robert, and the check's in the mail for Kirk. So, but hey, I do still want to play a game. I made this game up for him specifically because he's from Rhode Island. I just wanted to see how many questions he would actually know. But if you guys are willing to hang out for 5 more minutes and do this,
Okay.
all right, we're gonna start with Robert at the
Yeah.
top. What is
Okay.
the official state name of Rhode Island?
Official state name. I do not know, man.
I had no idea.
Is it on the license
I
plate?
don't know. I never seen a license plate.
What is it?
Anybody want to take a guess or not? I mean,
I have no
it is
idea.
Rhode Island, but it's longer than that. It's called the State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations.
No
I
idea.
would
no.
never get that in a million years.
I wonder if Kirk would have got that one. What are the two nicknames for Rhode Island? And anybody chatting along can chat in the answers if they know.
I guess I really don't know anything about Rhode Island other than Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Pawtucket,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, G.I. Joe.
This is a tough one.
The
Is
two
there-
nicknames are Little Rhodey, and the Ocean State. The Ocean State.
Ocean State.
Ocean
Okay.
State.
All right.
Question 3. Rhode Island is the smallest state in the Union, therefore called Little Rhodey. But why is it called the Ocean State? Any idea?
It's
An
not
island.
not coastal, is it?
It is. It is. Yeah.
It is,
It is.
It has over 400 miles of Atlantic coastline.
Wow. I didn't
Yeah,
realize.
I know. For being a small state. What is the state bird of Rhode Island?
The we'll say the cardinal.
You guys better start Googling shit. Because this is gonna be a really bad quiz.
I'm
If none of you
awful
guys
with
get
the
it.
geography and shit, man.
Yeah, we'll say the cardinal.
It's the Rhode Island red chicken.
Oh,
It's
Oh yeah, that was right
Yeah,
on the tip of
yeah,
my
I
tongue.
know.
The
I would have
red
guessed
chicken.
that. Yeah.
Rhode Island
Yeah.
was one of the original colonies, but which one?
let's say the second. The
Angelo,
second
you're
number.
a 5th grade teacher. You should know this.
Which
Yeah,
number
which number? 1, 2,
colony?
3, 4, 13. You know, like
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 4.
no, sir. Rhode Island was number 13. They waited to the end, man. They held out. They held
Wow.
out. Which one of these famous people did not come from Rhode Island? Viola Davis, Ruth Buzzy, DJ Pauly Shore, or Pauly D, sorry, Kirk Bozigian, or Patrick Dempsey?
the first name you named.
Viola Davis?
Yeah.
No, she was from Rhode Island.
Okay.
They are all from Rhode Island except for Patrick Dempsey. Patrick
Okay.
Dempsey. In 1917, what did Connecticut and Rhode Island refuse to do?
I don't know, but Jim looks like I'm just gonna get the fuck out of here. Man.
Jim's looking at the clock like, I gotta go, man.
Get the hell
Did
out
they
of here.
refuse?
Yes,
I'm
you're on
completely helpless over here. I have no clue.
1917. Come on, did you guys have any history?
Did they
class?
I don't
refuse?
know crap about Rhode
World
Island,
War
dude.
One.
No.
World War One. Did
Something
they
else
refuse
happened
to
in
take part?
1917. They refused the prohibition law. They were drinkers, man. They weren't doing that shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Connecticut and Rhode Island were like, no way. We're drinkers. Speaking of which, what is the official drink of Rhode Island?
Oh man.
I don't know.
And I've
Ale?
never heard of this before. Coffee milk. Coffee milk.
That sounds like
What?
Rhode Island people.
Oh, my face hurts from laughing.
What is a Rhode Island flutter nutter?
I don't want to go
Yep.
there. I don't like the sound of that.
Angelo, it's
I'm
not
not
a
even
position.
gonna
It's not a
guess.
position either, Angelo. No,
It's not.
I hope it
it's an
doesn't have
actual
anything to
thing,
do with
dude.
Bud
It's an
Light.
actual thing.
Does it involve feathers and
It
peanut
does
butter?
involve peanut butter, but not feathers.
Where?
A
Fluffer,
flutter.
wait a minute. Are you saying fluffer
Fluffer nutter.
Fluffer
Fluffer nutter.
Fluff. I know fluffer nutter. I ate
then-
fluffer nutter.
Do you
What is
really
it?
want to say that, Angelo?
Fluffer nutter's
What is it?
fluffer nutter's good on bread, and you add a little Nutella. Woo,
So what is
baby.
it? It's a peanut butter and marshmallow sandwich.
Fluffer nutter is marshmallow.
So
and
is it
peanut
spreadable
butter.
marshmallow or like?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Spreadable
Is it really,
marshmallow.
Angelo?
It comes in a plastic.
Is
Jim,
that-
they don't
is
eat
that
those in
that?
Texas, do they?
I was fixing this. No way.
You can find it. It comes in a plastic
Like a white
jug
one.
container, white, and it says fluff on the outside. Fluff for fluffer nutter, and then you buy the fluff and you spread it on the bread. Spread peanut butter
Yep.
on the other side. Slam them together.
Fluffer
Fluffer
nutter.
nutter.
I didn't know it was
I ain't
And then you
buying
add
it.
a little. Like I
Crap.
said, you put a little. You put a little peanut. You put a little Nutella, and then it kicks it up
Oh,
a
man.
notch.
All right. Question 10. Come on, I got 5 more to get to. 6
Oh
more.
dang.
All right.
How
Plan-
many more?
I was hoping Kirk was gonna like knock these out of the park and like you guys
You're
were
falling asleep, dude.
plan 9. Listen to this. Plan 9, deer tick, bad fish, belly, and black dice are all forms of what in Rhode Island?
ailments.
You guys all look like your screens froze.
Yeah, 'cause my brain just turned off.
Deer tick,
Google foods
deer
are all
tick,
great.
bad fish,
Keep up
belly,
with
and
that.
black dice are all forms.
They're all
No,
drinks.
They are rock bands. They're all rock bands from Rhode Island.
Oh.
The most famous one is John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, if you remember him from the
Okay.
80s.
Yep.
Heard
Wait,
that.
Name the 5 largest cities in Rhode Island. Come on, it's the smallest state. You can pick out 5 cities. from Rhode Island.
Providence.
Providence is one, yes.
Johnston.
Johnston, no.
I have so much information in my brain, but none of it has anything to do with Rhode Island. And I thought Fluffer Nutter might have been a Jersey thing because my parents are from Jersey.
It's made up.
I'm surprised you even know what it was. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Providence is number 1. Warwick, Cranston, Pawtucket. I figured you guys would.
Damn
Oh,
it. I was gonna say that, but it was
Well, I
so
thought that was a
obvious.
That
And
was-
East Providence. East Providence. Newport is not on the list. No, it was like 7 or 8. What is the state motto of Rhode Island?
Oh man.
People at home are chatting away because they're Googling this shit and not playing correctly.
Right.
State motto:
Yes.
"We're smart."
Hope. 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 Hope.
Cope.
What is
Hope.
the state's
There is no
slogan
hope.
of Rhode Island?
Get off my lawn.
That's what Sail capital of the world. You know, 'cause
Sail.
they have so much-
Okay, that
You
yeah,
got so much coastline.
yeah. I can see that. I can see that.
What are Rhode Island stuffies? STUFFIES. Stuffies. Angelo?
I think
Yeah,
I
you're
know
shaking your
that
head. Come
one.
on, man. What are they?
It's a stuffy. It's stuffy, huh? No, I have no clue.
I don't know, a donut.
I have no clue.
Jim, you would never know this because you're too far inland.
No.
They are stuffed clams with onion, celery, and green pepper.
makes sense.
Ooh.
And my last
Wow.
question of the night, thank God. What are Johnny cakes? Johnny cakes.
Oh,
Like a hard
yeah.
Pancakes.
Yeah, probably close to it. It's cornmeal pancakes. Cornmeal pancakes.
Pancakes.
I only know that from
Pancakes.
I
Pancakes.
know that from Sopranos.
So there's your
Oh,
Rhode Island
yeah.
trivia
Yeah.
of the night.
So you should have did 3
I'd like to
3/4
thank,
inch
this
trivia.
guy for being
You
on
could-
tonight, Mr. Law from Law.
Hey, I hope
Yep.
he meant that when he said he'd like to come back and do.
I hope
another-
so. I hope so. I hope I didn't.
Yeah, I want to know. And I want to know what the hell happened to Hawk, because that's a bunch of bullshit. I got to talk to Larry Hama or something, because they messed up with Hawk. He came out with blonde hair all tight to his head, and he came with that missile set, and then he came out as the general. No. So I don't know where that came from, and Bozigian didn't know either.
I'll
So
dial him
somebody
up.
needs
I'll
to
ask
know.
him tonight. I'll ask Larry.
Ask him.
I'll ask Larry.
Say, Angelo wants to know. Knowing is half
Knowing
the
is
battle.
half the battle.
I need to know.
Yeah, I've got
Hey,
him all dialed up.
just a reminder, I am going to have a show next week, but it is going to be on little plastic toy soldiers. So if you guys did collect those, feel free to be on the show. But I do have 2 guests that are coming on to talk about that. So we will have a show next week.
All right.
And then Robert's going to work on getting Larry Hama on the show next. So
yeah, we'll see.
that'll be the fall week.
Nice.
Oh, my.
He knows all the big wigs, man.
That would
We're
be
just gonna
awesome.
Go through Robert.
Wow. Yeah.
I
no
don't
doubt.
know Larry Hama.
Did you see Did you
He's
see
got him
the
on speed
picture of
dial. He's got
Larry
him on
with
speed
the?
dial.
Yeah.
Did you see his picture with the
Yeah,
50
that was
cal?
cool, man. That was good.
That was awesome. That was
So
really
when-
cool.
when's their-
Introduce. Hey guys, I got to go, but I was going to just
Yep.
introduce real quick my wife here, Angela.
Oh,
She's
look at
helping
this.
me out
Hello,
Hey.
Angela.
doing the printing there. So
Good
I'll
to
tell
meet
you how
you.
the Joe show goes. We're going to be doing a lot of packing and loading up and getting ready
Yep.
to go. And it is an adventure just to get
Oh
ready
yeah.
for the Joe show.
Are you taking the Jeep on that trip?
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
Oh
the
man,
whole
dude.
back of it's going to be full of nothing but GI Joe. We have to pack light. Go Legionnaire.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Hey, do well there,
Awesome.
Jim. I know
Yeah,
you're
Jim.
going to do well.
thanks.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for
Everybody.
tonight. Thanks for everybody chatting in.